much, Jan, for joining us today. I'm really excited about learning what you got out of the financial fitness, and I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I'm English by birth, and I trained as a registered nurse in London, did my midwifery at Oxford, did some work around London, then came out to Australia on a working holiday and stayed here ever since because I met a gorgeous Frenchman in Sydney. I married him. So I've worked in the medical industry on and off for many years. In the meantime, we had a family business, tour coaches, because we're a very tourist-orientated area. And we had some fantastic years in that industry, absolutely wonderful. We met some amazing people who worked in the industry with us, but also the tourists that came from all over the world. It was a great learning experience. We learned so much, had wonderful times with these people. We did have a very difficult time over the pilots dispute. Some people may remember 88 and 90 when we didn't have any domestic planes, which was a very hard time for us. But we did manage to survive. Many people didn't, but we got through that. So when we got to the global financial crisis, we hit another wall, actually. We'd gone into an investment that had been recommended by some friends. Quite a few of our friends were in it. And we actually made a reasonable amount of money out of it. But then the whole thing started to come unraveling in 2008. It took about 3 years to actually hit rock bottom. And we were 300,000 in debt, and we'd actually paid off I think 120,000, so we had about 180,000 left to pay off. So that was really, really hard. We had a great financial advisor, and we were also introduced to this financial fitness. So we sort of married the two, all the principles we learned from the financial fitness, and then having very frank discussions with a very, very nice financial advisor who supported us fantastically all the way through.
Awesome.
The small amount of super that I had, we paid off. And our son came back from America. He'd been living over there for 5 years. And right out of the blue, he paid off the rest of the loan for us.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Because, well, he could see the financial stress that we were in. Yes, it was an amazing thing to do. He's just a very nice young man and had got amazing principles, very family orientated. And so we started from rock bottom again, not having a mortgage, but obviously we had to start building up, savings and emergency savings as well. But that's what we utilized everything from the financial fitness services book, all the principles, and that's what got us back in the most amazing situation. We can afford to go on holidays. As I say, we can afford to put cash into good secondhand cars, never having to borrow money to do anything. If we ever go away, it's all paid for. We've got a holiday booked for the end of 2021, and it's paid
for.
Yes, so everything is done with good financial principles now.
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm looking at in putting together for the program is having people's testimonies, but also what the financial fitness did in adding value to your life.
Oh, gosh.
So what did you get out of the program?
I got out of the program to really think about what you're doing with your money and how valuable it is. I suppose I was brought up without credit cards, so I did understand the basics, but it's so easy to get sucked in with credit cards and buy things just because you want them, just because you see them, just because you've got money on your credit card. And no matter that you have the principles that you were taught as a young person, it's very easy to get sucked in.
Yep.
Buy now, pay later, 24 months interest free. Well, I think it's 52 weeks interest free now.
I remember it used to be 12 months.
That's right. That's
24
right.
months.
That was one of the most important things to me. And the other thing was, if you can see something that you want to buy and you can afford it, stop and think, do you really need it?
Yeah.
Is it going to improve my life? Is it going to get me towards my goals? And anything, I set myself anything over $50, you must always go home and think about it for 24 hours. Don't impulse buy.
Yeah, that's so important. I know for me, it was the hardest thing.
And the majority of time, you never go back and buy it. Occasionally you do, but the majority of time you do not go back and buy it, which just proves that even if you've got the money, you didn't need it. That's absolutely right. And I find myself, I think since COVID, I've probably been even stricter on myself.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I must say, since I've been in COVID, I hardly go shopping anyway. And with everything being shut down in Melbourne and nothing being easily accessible, my budget looked so good. It was so awesome and then anything that I really did need to buy, because everything was so difficult, we had to, actually go and buy it online. So I had to go and do the research first. Then I had to do the click and collect because I didn't want them to send it to me. So then I had to go and across town, book the appointment, go and pick it up, call them, wait for them to bring it out, come back home. And it was, so you were really, really specific about what you were spending your money on. That's what I loved about it.
And the other thing I've noticed is we've got a small shopping centre near us, just a small suburban shopping centre with a Coles and a Woolworths and a Kmart. But most of the specialty shops closed, and a few of them have opened, but a lot of them have closed down permanently.
Yeah.
And the big shopping centre in Cairns, Cairns Central, I have not been in there since before COVID, and I still haven't been there, where I could easily see something and spend money. I just don't go there.
Yeah. And I remember when we'd go north, going to the shopping centre was to go out of the heat, to go for the air conditioning. And so you just go and hang out at the shops, which means you'd always buy something while you were there.
That's right. That's exactly right. So I think probably the most important principle that I learned was the number one principle, don't spend more than you earn. I mean, it's such a simple statement, such a simple principle.
Yeah.
One, obviously, that I was brought up with not having credit cards. But once again, with a credit card, it's easy to get away with it. But if you sit down and do your budget and you've got money left over at the end of it, you're doing really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then the other principle of saving for emergencies, having an emergency account.
Definitely.
So that, if the tires go on the car, if the fridge is on the blink, if the washing machine breaks down, the money is there to go and buy it. And you're not tempted to put it on credit card or on 48 months interest free.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing I learned too. And paying myself first to make sure that I was putting that money aside, because I didn't see the value in myself. So I was having a real struggle with it but I got to pay the bills. I got to pay somebody else. And it's like, no, the biggest value is for me. I've got to be there because I can't pay the bills otherwise. And that I being a mother of 5 kids, everything was just so difficult because we were just trying to make ends meet. And
I can just imagine it.
When the fridge goes out, you'd have to get really creative on what was the highest priority at that time. What were you working with to make it all come together? Because you'll solve the problem when you have to. So a lot of us just go, I know for me, it was just easier not to look at the scoreboard, not to figure it out. So,
I think that's the other thing COVID has taught us, is to look for different ways of doing things, looking for different ways to save money, look for different ways of cooking, look for different ways of enjoying yourself, of having hobbies. Probably getting rid of clutter. That's what we've been doing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Still doing it. We're still doing it. And I've found that the best way to do it is a little bit at a time. Otherwise, it just gets too overwhelming. So declutter, I think.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's excellent advice. I love that. And if we don't do the basics first, we don't do the discipline, then we can't build on it. We can't move forward into where we want to go and how we're going to actually achieve all of those goals. How
Oh,
are we
that's
going
right.
to get there? Because I know for me, and I grew up listening to Laurie and Oren and Laurie talking, you're going to be in debt forever, so just don't worry about it. I kind of grew up in that school as well. And in our family, it was kind of all the same, that philosophy. And that is so hard to break when you go, oh, it'll be just easy. Don't worry about it. I'm never going to get there anyway. I'm never going to get on top of this. So don't worry about it. You know, the problem is too big. And sitting down and doing that discipline and then going, okay, understanding all the emotions that are attached to it all and figuring it out for real. I can do this. I am worth it, and it's going to happen because I am going to work at it every single day.
That's
And I
right.
found that super important.
We're in a lucky position of not having a mortgage. It's been paid off. We did have a sticky situation just after the global financial crisis, where that's when we really embraced. I think it was 2011 we started to embrace the financial fitness, and we had a very good financial advisor who worked with us and supported us, and we got ourselves back to zero debt. And then we started building on everything again. So all we have now are our, month-to-month living expenses, which is wonderful. And the stress that it takes off you is unbelievable. So I can imagine what people are going through at the moment. People who haven't worked, have had a business that's gone downhill and had to close the doors. They must be so stressed, and I just feel so sorry for them. But those principles of trying to get yourself out of every form of debt. And a lot of people don't think of mortgage as a debt, unfortunately. But it's the biggest debt you'll ever have.
You're going to always be in debt. It's
That's
a philosophy. You're going to always be in debt, so why should it matter?
Yeah. And we've even learned to, buy good secondhand cars, but buy them for cash. You save the money. And if you want to change your car, upgrade your car, you've got the cash there to upgrade it. I had a traffic accident at the beginning of COVID, and my car was written off, and we got the book price for it very quickly, luckily. And within 10 days, we were able to go and buy. We had money put aside. We could put another $8,000 on that, and we were able to upgrade, the car to a much newer one.
Yeah.
But years ago, we wouldn't have had that money sitting there to do it, because I would have spent it on something. We'd have bought a new lounge suite or a new dining suite, or gone on an overseas holiday or something like that.
Because the competing for our dollar is huge. Everything is just so, we need your money more than you. And I was like, I was happy to give them that money before. I didn't understand what it was doing to my family and to my future, in just saying, oh, yeah, I'll just go and buy that new lounge suite. That'd be great. I need it anyway. I don't, but I do. I deserve it.
I deserve it.
I deserve it, absolutely. Which is just the worst words to ever use when it comes to your finances, because, like the program teaches us, you deserve it after you've got it in the bank, after you've set your rewards, after you've achieved all of that, and you're completely out of debt. Then you can pay for it with cash. Then you deserve it.
That's it. And I've learned to go into a shop. We had to buy a new mattress a couple of months ago. So I did my research on the computer, and I found that there was one shop in Cairns, and it said that you were getting 45% off if you were an RSEQ member.
Yeah.
So I thought, great. So I worked out which mattress we wanted, and there were sort of 2 or 3 we could have bought, middle of the road type prices. And I went straight into the assistant, and I said, right, we want to buy a new mattress, a king size mattress, but I'm not spending more than $1,500 after my discount. So she knew straight away that I had a limit. I didn't go in there saying, can you show me some mattresses? So I might have been shown a $6,000 mattress or something.
Yep.
But it was a middle of the road price, and we're really happy with what I knew what to look for. That I wanted Australian made, individual spring pockets, soft, top, all that sort of thing. But I had my limit, and I was not going to be taken away from that limit. And it's just a discipline. And you go and you say, this is it. I'm not paying any more than that.
And
be
educated
definite.
buyer. That's
Yes.
doing your
Right.
research and saying, okay, where else can I get discounts on this? What other things?
Mm,
And that's part of our super app, is looking at those other discounts that come with it, the
that's right.
other things that we can stack on top to gain.
Mm,
I've been saving 4% off Woolworths vouchers, buying their e-vouchers and then saving 4% on that. Well, COVID has just been released, like we're all just finished COVID, so to speak. And they've dropped the value from 4% savings now to 3% savings. Strangely enough, in line with Coles now. So when you go and buy a
right.
Coles voucher, they're at 3%. Well, Woolies is now matching that. So that's savings to go and find on those big expenses. Mattresses, our groceries is a huge expense in our family. Even with Kevin and I,
Absolutely.
our groceries were just out of control, and it was just because it was convenient and we weren't paying attention, and we're just going down to the shops, and the convenient shops, and so I've got him now with vouchers, and I've got him very specific. Kevin does most of our grocery shopping, and it's very, very particular, and it's organization. It's going and making sure the money's in the e-wallet. It's going through that process. But he's already saved over $100 just through doing that. And our
Wow.
value on our money then is, that's money in our pocket. That's
Yeah,
money that's bought the same value of groceries, but we didn't have to spend all our cash to do it. And that
that's
makes
right.
a huge difference just in educating yourselves on, well, how can I access this product, but how can I also take care of the savings? How can I get those competitive discounts?
That's
It's
right. And
really,
I
really
think
good.
the other thing I've learned is that every bit of money that you save and put in the bank, if you've got it in the highest possible earning savings account, it's compounding all the time.
Yep.
Isn't it? That's the eighth wonder of the world, isn't it? Compound interest.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And,
And I've found that now too.
I remember the story. I think it's Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men in the world. And I believe he still lives in the same house he bought when he first started investing.
He probably still drives his Volvo too. I
Yes.
just love that
And
he was living with his mum and driving his Volvo.
I know. I'm sure he's probably got very nice furniture and, all mod cons, but he doesn't spend money unnecessarily.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the best things we can do. And
Yeah.
then, of course, it goes on to, if you've got money coming in regularly and you've learned to budget, you can also start tithing or helping other people whenever you want to. And that
Definitely.
always makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm reviewing my budget regularly. I've been able to increase my tithing. So when I was first started donating to things and helping people and looking at different charities, and I went, oh, I'm going to give what they've asked. So like $60 a month. And then when I looked at 10% of my earnings in tidings, I went, oh my God, like I'm nowhere near that. And I'm not even making that huge contribution out into the world to help other people. I was being completely selfish about it and not understanding how my impact and how I can help. So I sponsored a orphanage over in Uganda, and at the moment I'm running a fundraising campaign to help them build a well for fresh water so that they can actually have fresh water. And that tidings is then regularly going in, but then I can see the impact that it's helping in that community as well. So
That's
really, really
amazing.
recommend that. And
Oh, yes.
absolutely, because when the budget gets tight and when we've got to try and make ends meet and we've got to cut back, tidings is usually the first thing that goes out of our budget, because it's like, I can't support myself, how am I going to support anybody else? But reframing that through the program has helped me to look at, it's not just about me cutting back, it's about me increasing as well. So how can I increase? How can I get that offense to be able to afford that help again, to be
That's
able to
amazing.
contribute in the world? So it's
Yeah.
been really, really good.
And I think that's a very important point. It's all about educating yourself, isn't it? And it's the continual education and continual growth. And one of the most important assets you'll ever have is educating yourself, really.
Definitely. Yep. that you incorporated. It is
That's it.
hugely important. And I know
Yeah.
for me that I working through it all to improve that. And I was trying to figure out what I was doing it for. And it's so that we can increase my contributions out into the world,
That's
introduce
amazing.
and meeting such fabulous people along the way and working with such awesome mentors and team members like yourself. So it's absolutely wonderful
Well,
what we all can achieve.
I think that's right, because we're able to bounce ideas and things that we're doing off each other, and that's how you learn, isn't it? By talking to like-minded people.
Definitely.
And I think the other thing is, I was reading about yesterday or this morning, is that be careful who you take your advice from.
Definitely. Definitely. I learned that the hard way.
So did we at one stage. Don't take advice from broke people.
Yeah.
And only really take advice, financial advice, from people who are in a position financially that you would like to be.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that have the runs on the board and the ones that you can trust.
Yeah, definitely. Because I used to think professionals meant that they had the fruit on the tree. And then when I did more investigation, just because they're a professional doesn't actually mean that they're doing it right. And I thought that was an incredible thought. Employees sometimes are just employees.
The other thing is, of course, you drive around the suburbs and you see, BMWs and Mercedes and Audis parked outside of so many houses and big boats and everything. And I used to think, gosh, I wonder how all these people afford this. But now, of course, we understand that a lot of people don't own them. The bank owns them.
Yeah.
And they're putting themselves quite often into financial stress to actually keep up with those payments.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know full well a lot of people with these boats around us, how often do the boats go out? They're always in the garden.
Yeah, because they've got no time. Everybody's
right.
still working. They're not actually enjoying the fruits of their labor.
No,
So-
they might have it sitting there and think, I'd love to, but they're so busy working to keep all the payments going that they don't have time to go out and enjoy it. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of some more debt. Then we might be able to free up some time and buy a small little dinghy or something and go out on the inlet and just throw a line over the side. And it's just as much fun with the children, we find with our grandchildren, just to fish from the edge of the creek or down
Definitely.
one of the beaches.
Riverbanks.
Yeah, they were down there yesterday, I think it was, down at Yorkers Knob. Down at Palm Cove fishing.
Yeah.
And he catches little fish. He throws them back again, of course. But
Yeah.
it's the excitement of actually catching a fish. He's 5 years old and just loves it.
And spending that time together.
Yes,
I mean, why are we doing it all if we're not there to spend time?
That's it. And we're lucky. He has Friday off from daycare. So we quite often say, let's pack up a picnic, and we make some sandwiches and we go down to the local wetlands and just walk around and watch the birds and sit by the side of the lakes and watch the turkeys and the ducks come in. It's just beautiful that we're lucky we've got that time to do it. Yeah.
And having that financial freedom, having that money all taken care of, so that you're not looking over your shoulder going, oh my God, where am I at now?
And the other thing I liked was making a list, like a bucket list of what you want to achieve.
Written goals.
Yes. And we've crossed a few off, which has been great. There's still a lot to go, of course. And some of them we won't be able to do for a while because it includes traveling, which we can't do at the moment. But a lot of the things we've done, and probably I wouldn't have focused on them if it hadn't been for having that money put aside so that we could pay for a trip before we go, not when we come back. I couldn't believe that people actually did that. Financed a holiday. That was nowhere on my radar at all, fortunately. And then you see adverts now in the window of travel agents, travel now, pay later. And I'm thinking, no, don't do that.
And everybody's doing that. Like, I am astounded with the afterpay on everything, and it's on every website now. I went to buy some books the other day and they've got afterpay on the books. So you can buy a $20 book and you can afterpay it and they work out all your payments for you. And I'm like, oh, wow, that is incredible. So everything's like buy now, and the credit is so easy. but not
It
keeping
is.
track of it is so easy to get away from you, what those commitments all are. Because like anything, I've found when it came to the financial world out there, they don't make it easy for you to actually see how much you're going to pay. They don't give you the final number, because if you were looking at buying $100 worth of books, but the afterpay was like $140, would you do it? But they don't show you that, you know.
No.
And the same for the holidays, you know, buy now, pay later. But how much did your holiday actually cost you? You wouldn't look at it and go, oh, it was a $5,000 holiday, but I ended up paying $7,500 just because I paid it off. It's just crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
But so quickly. Listening through the program and just how much is the total, not how much is it each month, how much is it over the life of the loan?
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference in interest.
Oh, it does. But I think, we talked about investing in ourselves, and that's why I think this super app is so amazing. For $33 a month, you've got all that information, not only the financial fitness information, but you've got all the personal development and leadership information on Masco Radio. It's just absolutely amazing.
Absolutely.
$33 a month, an investment in yourself that gives you all that information.
And trip credits to boot.
That's right. That's right. When we can travel again.
Free.
Oh, it's really a no-brainer.
Absolutely, I agree. And I remember when it was first released, and I was balking at the price, $30 a month for an app. Why would I? But then the more I delve into it, and I went, why wouldn't you?
Exactly right. I know. Going back to buying things, our son Pascal, he embraces all this as well. He was going to buy a car, and it was at the end of the financial year, so they were getting really good deals. So he looked at the secondhand cars, really good secondhand cars, and it was only a few $1,000s more to buy a new one of the four-wheel drive that he wanted. So he decided to buy the new one. So he sat down with the people and, said, fill out the paperwork for the finance. And Pascal said, well, no, I'm going to pay cash.
Yeah, that's right.
They look at you as though you're crazy, because they're actually a finance company and their product is a car.
That's exactly right. Now everybody's
that's where they make their money. Yeah. So anyway, he let them go through the process, and he worked out how much more he'd pay for the car if he did finance it, because that's the way his brain works. He's got to know. He's very controlled like that.
Detailed about it, which is important. It's our money.
Yeah, and I think it was gosh, I can't remember now. I didn't know at the time. It was a $45,000 car, and I think it was almost $10,000,
More in finance.
Yeah, I think it was $10,000 more he would have paid. So he didn't do it, of course, but it was a very good exercise to go through.
Yeah. And you're right. They're finance companies with products now, rather than the other way around. They make more money off the finance than they do off actually selling the cars.
That's exactly right. And he was sitting in this office with just partitions, and there was another young couple next door, and he could hear the salesman saying, oh, and do you want this? And do you want that? And do you want... And there were all these add-ons.
Nickel and diming you.
I think they were buying the same car as Pascal, so it would have probably gone up to about $60,000 by the time they'd finished.
Yeah.
And do they actually realize that? And then once they've said yes, they're frightened to say no. They think, oh, we look like cheapskates if we're going to say no. So just to save face, they don't say anything, and they just cop it all, and with a higher repayments.
But uneducated, hasn't gone in and done all the research on it all. I mean, I love listening to Dan Hawkins when he sits and he says, I bought a new Jaguar, but I bought it for cash, and I learned everything about it before I bought it. I knew everything about the computer, about its smell, about how it handled before I even drove it off the showroom. And I just love that, because you want to be an educated buyer when it comes down to it. It's super important, because there is so many companies that they're happy to take your money, whether you've got it or not, they'll take it. And that's that commitment. Once you've signed on the dotted line, you're committed now. and the generations that affects, whether you can afford it or not.
And you can't, once you put all the extras on, you can't take them off.
Yeah.
They can't be taken back. But
No.
I remember it's interesting that children can visualize what they want so clearly, and they will work towards what they want if you help them set goals.
Yep.
Much better than adults will. And I remember Pascal, when he got to probably about 12, and we set the goal of him buying a car when he was, I think he was 17 back in his day.
Yeah.
And he did everything. We had tour coaches at that stage, and he would clean the coaches, and he'd go around cleaning people's gutters and painting people's doors and cutting people's grass.
Yeah.
And he had money by the time he could pass his driving test. I mean, I think my husband put some money into it as well, but he had set the goal. And now our 5-year-old grandson, we've got him setting a goal for his car.
So great.
You've got all that money in your piggy bank. Let's go and put it in the bank, Yeah. Oh, but I could put, yes, but we're setting this goal for you to get a car when you're this age. I want a car like Daddy. I know. Well, you're going to have to start saving now.
That's right.
Help him setting a goal from that age.
And that is so important. I wish my mum and I and my dad, I wish we had the discipline to do that when I was little. Just the thought of actually paying for university before I got there, like student loans, I'm still paying off a university degree, and I haven't finished it yet, so I've still got to go back and finish it, but I'm still paying that off. And that's my last final debt, which I'm so excited about finally clearing, but so expensive because of that added on, because of that interest, because of that pay now, buy now, pay later stuff. If the discipline had been put in, it would have made a huge, huge difference in my family. I've been doing it for my children, working through them, putting in the extra savings. I know for me, even when it was tight, I still managed to find some savings to put across for the kids, so that discipline was there. So when they do start their days, their lives, they have those options. I mean, even just buying a house now, the deposit for a house is insane. The hoops you've got to jump through to do it. And then I see so many young people committed to these incredible mortgages that just forever to pay off.
It's scary. I know in our day we were lucky because up here in the north you could actually build as you went along. You couldn't do that anymore, but you work like crazy, and you'd buy the land and you'd work like crazy and build the foundation, then you work like crazy and do the walls and then do the roof, and you can't do that anymore, which is really sad, because that's what put us on our feet, really, being able to do it that way. Working towards it.
It's important. I love it.
It is.
That's great. I've learned so much, Jen. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and
it was my pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
Well, I'm really passionate about this because it's made such a difference in our lives to have that stress taken away and to have hardly any bills. We put solar on the roof, so we have no we have about $100 electricity bill every 4 months, I think now.
That's great, because they tripled down here. Energy costs went through the roof in Melbourne, and everybody's whinging about it.
They were pretty high here too, but this time of year we've got the air conditioners on most of the day, and we don't have to worry because it's the UV that generates the power now. And that's just it. All we have to do is pay the rates, telephone, gas, and our groceries. It's just amazing. So our living expenses are very low, and I just think, if everybody lived like us, it would be wonderful.
Well, let's work on that. That's definitely what we want to do. We want to help everybody to have those options.
Lovely talking to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. Cool.
My pleasure.
Thanks.